Today we're going to be diving into actual tips for every phase of the cycle. Why is it important to understand that women's bodies run on a 28-day cycle instead of like the 24-hour male rhythm?
Society kind of runs on the 24-hour male rhythm. Women are expected to kind of just do that.
My boyfriend and I always joke, he's like, it would be so useful for a guy to know, like, maybe don't schedule a first date, like when she's in her luteal.
Yeah.
Right? I wish I would have known when I was 15 to be like, hey, if you take magnesium. It made such a difference when I started making these changes and really like incorporating during this phase, like comfort related things, anti-inflammatory things. I love that you're mentioning like ovulation cramps, because I think this is something that for the general population is sometimes under discussed. So let's dive in with the menstrual phase. Cycle syncing will change your life. If you don't believe me, it's because you haven't tried it yet. Today, we're going to be talking about cycle syncing 101, what to eat, move, and do in every phase of your cycle so that you can thrive and feel your best. Your cycle is actually made up of 4 different phases, and it's not just about your period and when you bleed. So many of us were not taught enough about women's hormones. So you guys, today I'm so excited because we're gonna have an incredible guest on and dive into the secret of how you can optimize your life through your lifestyle, the things that you eat, how you move, what you do in every phase to feel your best, thrive as a woman, and realize that you are a cyclical creature and not on a 24-hour clock like men. Today, I am so excited to have Dr. Sweta come on the podcast. She is based in New Jersey, and she is a board-certified family and functional medicine physician and helps people transform their health through lifestyle-based healing, blending evidence-based science with a warm, real-life approach. She empowers patients to prevent burnout, live with energy, and live with purpose. Known for making medicine feel human again, Dr. Sweta brings fun, accessible strategies to every conversation about wellness and vitality. Well, Dr. Sweta, thank you so much for coming on the Ask Lively podcast. I am so honored that you took time out of your busy schedule and seeing patients to hang out with us today. So thank you.
No problem. I'm so excited to be here and help educate.
Oh my gosh, this topic that we're going to talk about today, I feel like just cycle syncing in general is something I'm so passionate about because it changed my life. And I'm like, man, like every day I'm meeting women and talking to women, and so many of us so many people don't even know that we have multiple cycle phases, that we're driven by different hormones. So I like to ask every guest that comes on the podcast, if cycle syncing had been taught to you when you were younger in school, how do you think it would have changed your life?
I think it would have changed my life completely. I actually think it would change every woman's life completely, because it gives you a chance to really think about what you should be doing when you're in certain phases of the cycle. And so if we really knew this, then we wouldn't be kind of muddling through it the way I think most of us have been for many years.
No, I feel like that's so many people are going to be listening to this and like resonate with that, because it's like, you can feel like if you just don't understand what's going on with your hormonal cycle, like what's wrong with me? Like, am I lazy? Am I weak? Like as an athlete growing up, I'd be like, what is happening? Like last week I was fast and strong, and this week, like no energy. So let's dive right into it. Why is it important to understand that women's bodies run on a 28-day cycle instead of like the 24-hour male rhythm?
So I think the biggest thing here is that society kind of runs on the 24-hour male rhythm. And so women are expected to kind of just do that. And, so many times during our cycle, just like you just said, you're wondering, why am I lazy or tired this week? And last week I was fine, but you're expected to do the 24-hour cycle. And so I think it's really important to know this about your body, so that for at least to give yourself some grace when things are different, because there is a reason for it.
Yeah, no, 1000%. And so we obviously shift in every phase of our cycle. Why, like how and why, like if we're just starting at the basic 101, like someone's understanding this for the first time, they're like, wow, I have 4 cycle phases. Why should they be thinking about shifting like their nutrition, exercise, lifestyle? Like how does that actually impact us?
So the biggest thing is that you want to be supporting your body with everything that you're doing. So, a lot of us want to eat healthy. A lot of us want to exercise right. And in order to do that for a woman, if you don't cycle sync, then you're kind of pushing against yourself to do it. And so it would be horrible to have to put yourself through a really hard workout in the middle of your menstrual cycle,
Yep.
and then be mad at yourself if it doesn't work, you know?
Yep. No, it's so true. And I think that like you said, because society is like so conditioned to working on this 24-hour, like everything is set up, our work, a lot of time, our lives, our sports, our et cetera. And like, we forget to realize that like progress forward doesn't necessarily mean like every single day going up. Like strength can look like this month I'm stronger than I was last month. And it doesn't necessarily mean like every single day.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm really excited today. We're going to be diving into like actual tips for every phase of the cycle. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, you know, like we've kind of dove in previous episodes in looking at like what are the 4 phases, etc. But today we're really going to be giving you like practical advice, and we're so excited to hear it from like a functional medicine perspective as well. Like I think this is something that's just like not talked about enough. So let's dive in with the menstrual phase. For like, how many days does the menstrual phase roughly last, and what's happening in the body?
It's usually about 5 days. That's when your progesterone and estrogen is at its lowest, and that's when you're bleeding.
Yep.
And so the menstrual phase is, for a lot of women, not the toughest phase, because at that point you're bleeding. So you at least kind of know that, all right, I'm cramping, I don't feel good, I'm bloated, I don't want to do anything. So some women will give themselves grace on that during that time, and they should. And so, yeah, that's what's happening during the menstrual phase.
What foods specifically support your body during this phase? Because you're like losing blood, cramping.
Yeah, so the biggest thing you want to hit is iron. Iron, because you're losing blood. So you're feeling more fatigued because you're losing blood, you're losing iron. So you want to hit the body with a lot of iron. If you are vegetarian, you can still get it from leafy greens, and lentils, things like that. The other really big one during this phase is magnesium-rich foods. Magnesium is a muscle relaxer. So this will help with uterine cramps. That's really going to make a big difference. And it also helps with bloating. And then the third one during this phase is high potassium foods. So potassium also helps with decreasing bloating and hydration, things like that. And it's just a really good way to kind of give your body back whatever it's losing.
Yeah, man, it's so helpful. Like when you like build your toolkit and your arsenal with like the foods and the things that help so much. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have known when I was 15 to be like, hey, if you take magnesium, like it made such a difference when I started making these changes and really like incorporating during this phase, like comfort related things, anti-inflammatory things. And I was like, wow, like why was I not told this?
Right.
What about movement? Like what movement is best in this phase?
So at this point, you want to be pretty gentle with yourself. So the 2 things that I usually tell people is, go for a little walk outside, get yourself going that way. And then like things like yoga, like a light, gentle stretch, that will help. A lot of people do really well with hip stretching or a lumbar spine stretching yoga. That helps with the cramping also. So, you want to keep it light as much as you can. But if you're feeling like you need to move, it's a good idea to get out and walk.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And it's like, again, I hope that someone listening to this is realizing like you don't have to feel guilty if you're not at like your top performing like phase of your cycle at this moment. And then yeah, like let's talk about feeling lazy, because I think that again, in a hustle society and in a society that it's like 24/7, I feel like it can be hard mentally for some women to be like, okay, no, like I need to slow down, and like slowing down does not mean that I'm lazy. Like, can you speak to that for someone?
Yeah, so the estrogen and progesterone both have tanked at this point. And so the hormones that most of us need, especially estrogen, and need to kind of feel good and feel motivated, it's just not really there. We have very, very little estrogen during our menstrual phase. And so if you think about it that way, at the very least, you can give yourself some grace. Like, okay, maybe this week is not the time. Maybe next week I can add on some of these things that I want to do, and I should be doing.
Before we dive back in, I just wanted to say this. If you've been learning from these episodes, loving the guests, or just feeling seen from these conversations, do us a quick favor and please tap the follow button wherever you are listening to this. It helps us more than you know, and it means the world to us. When you follow the show, that lets us bring on even more experts, answer the questions that you care about, and keep growing the lively community with the support that you deserve. That's it. That's the ask. One tap to follow us is a huge step in helping more women understand their bodies. Okay, now grab your tea, your matcha, your coffee, and let's get back to the episode. Okay, next is the follicular phase. So, how many days is this? Tell us about like what's happening in the body.
So the follicular phase is about 7 days, and that is when the estrogen is rising and rising, and trying to kind of get you to ovulation, so the follicles are forming. And yeah, that's when you start to feel the menstruation is done, so you're starting to feel a little bit stronger and more motivated during that phase.
Yeah. And food wise, what supports the body in this phase?
Yeah, so food wise here, you want to kind of help the follicles grow. And so healthy fats are a really good thing to go for. So you want to do more like avocados and more just basically kind of fiber and carbs. That's a good place to start. And you might be exercising more during this time, so supporting your body with more carbs is actually a good thing here.
Absolutely. Like it's I've heard it described as like your inner spring, like it's energizing. Like
Mhm.
if you're again, like you said, like if you're running more, like you should be eating more carbs. You need fuel for your brain, for your body,
Exactly.
etc. Um, and then what are the best kind of workouts for this phase?
So this is the phase where you want to hit the workouts a little bit heavier. So this is, your HIIT workouts, your cardio workouts. These are the things that you're going to kind of push harder during this phase because you're starting to get the energy from the estrogen and your body can actually utilize the workout at this point. It's not sort of in the menstruation phase. I always say you kind of have to treat your body like it's a little bit sick, like it's in
Yeah.
recovery.
Yep.
But in the follicular phase, you're going strong. So instead of pushing yourself during the menstrual phase, you might as well push yourself during the follicular phase if you're going to do it.
Absolutely. No, and I've personally found it like I love the follicular. I love estrogen. I think most women do, but it's like you feel it's so nice, like especially after coming out of like your winter phase to be like, wow, like the energy's coming back, it's rising. So something that I find super interesting and that I love about cycle syncing is it's not just about food and movement, but it's also about like planning your life around it, right? If you want to
Yeah.
optimize, of course, like I don't want to put people in a box and be like, you can't it's not that you can't take a meeting when you're in your luteal phase, but
Right.
that being said, and especially I think most people, their work and their life won't necessarily allow
You
them to
don't
like
have much of a
completely.
choice, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's more
Yeah.
of like the intention and the energy that we bring into it. But to optimize our life, like how can we really use this phase and the energy that estrogen's bringing to like plan like our creativity, our productivity, our planning? Like, what do you suggest for lifestyle?
Yeah, so if you are trying to do something creative and it's not like a deadline heavy, just as you're saying, it's not like a meeting that you need to do for work or whatever. If it's
Hmm.
something creative, try to plan it for your follicular phase because you're going to have the energy at that point to actually do it and the creative juices are really flowing. If you try to do it during your menstrual phase, you could do it, but it's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit lazier, a little bit harder for you.
Yeah,
So, I always try to put as much during the follicular phase as I possibly can,
same.
just to kind
Maximize
of,
that.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
No, that's so good. And truly, if you guys have not tried this, listening to this, like just try it for a couple months, and I promise you're gonna be like, oh, wow, this is so much easier and when I'm working with my brain than against it.
Yeah.
I feel it's like if you know that your body has a superpower and like at a certain point it's going to like your hormones are literally optimized for like creativity and focus and output, like why wouldn't you use it? Why wouldn't you use
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
for the ovulation phase, that's next. When like how long does this last? And also like I think a lot of okay, let's address this really quickly because most of us who grew up without like hormone education think that our period is the main event of our cycle,
Right.
but it's actually ovulation. So why is ovulation the main event of our cycle?
Right. So the whole menstrual cycle is actually to kind of start fertility, and so ovulation is where your follicle kind of lets go of the egg, and that's the main event because that's sort of when your most fertile window is during the ovulation phase. And so you're right. A lot of us kind of think of it in terms of menstruation, but really it's about 2 weeks before that.
Yeah. So what foods are like fuel ovulation best? If I want to have a healthy ovulation, I want to make sure that I'm supporting my fertility. What are we looking at?
So ovulation is when estrogen is basically at its highest. So right before ovulation is when the estrogen is at its highest. And so sometimes that can kind of put you into overdrive of the estrogen. So the best thing to do at this point is actually include fiber and antioxidants. So the reason for that is because you're actually sort of trying to get rid of a little bit of that estrogen. When you have too much estrogen, a lot of other symptoms can kind of surface. So
Mhm.
fiber is definitely really important. And then the estrogen being that high, the liver has to metabolize it. And
Mhm.
so it increases the body's oxidative stress at that point. And so antioxidants really help kind of bring that back. It's another part of the cycle that immune wise, you have to be a little bit more careful because your body is going through this big thing of letting go of the egg. And so you need to think about it in terms of I need to support my body. It might need a little bit of recovery period here.
So actually this makes so much sense to me, and it's the first time that I'm hearing about it, because I was like, I've heard like during your like luteal phase, or like late luteal menstrual phase, like your body is like your immune system is weaker. Maybe
Is
I'm wrong, but
lower.
that's
Yeah.
what I've heard. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting that you're talking about ovulation as well. Is it really those periods where your hormones are really like fluctuating and changing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And you also have to think of it in terms of during ovulation and during menstruation, both, your body is going through so much that all of the energy is focused on that. And so if you have, somebody sick around you, it's faster that your body will pick up that sickness and you can't kind of fight it because your body's trying to do something else.
body literacy is so cool. Like just even being aware of this stuff, I feel like is so helpful. Like to
Yeah.
know, like to just be able to avoid certain situations where, okay, super cool. Um, what about movement during this ovulation phase?
So ovulation phase, you're still in a pretty high energy place for the most part. So you can continue to do those HIIT workouts, the cardio workouts. Some people get back pain during this time, or even lower belly pain. And if that's the case, then I would absolutely add yoga, something to kind of stretch out the muscles around the ovaries and around the uterus.
I love that you're mentioning like ovulation cramps, because I think this is something that for the general population is sometimes like under discussed. Like we
Yeah,
just had a video on our lively TikTok go pretty viral, like over like 1.5 million women who we were talking about ovulation cramps, and people were like, me too, me too, me too, me
yeah,
too. And I think a lot of times, at least on social media and like the TikTok cycle syncing world, you see a lot of like memes that are about like ovulation, I'm just so sexy and glowy and having the time of
yeah.
my life. And in reality, for like some people, maybe it's that way, but for a lot of other people, it's like you said, like the cramping can we talk just like a tiny bit? And it's a little bit off topic, but just like
Oh yeah,
for women listening, like
absolutely.
why do you get ovulation cramps?
Because your follicles are releasing the eggs down
Mhm.
the down the ovary, down the fallopian tube, and so that's not always really nice for the body to feel.
Yeah.
You definitely feel that, and some people get a lot of discharge during that time,
Mhm.
and it's really it can be very uncomfortable. Most of the time, that ovulation pain doesn't last, 3 or 4 days that ovulation would be considered in, but sometimes it does. And so, listen to your body. Definitely do
100%.
what your body is telling you to do. So if the
Yeah.
HIIT workouts at that point is not it, then don't do it.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
it's so bio individual as well, and like what people are experiencing. I'm so glad we like talked about that though, just for again, it's something that most people just don't know about. Or they'll be like, something's wrong with me because I'm not like
Exactly.
today.
Exactly.
It's like nothing's wrong with you. Okay, so also let's talk about libido really quickly, because I don't think we've hit we didn't really talk about that as much for the other phases, but if we just did like a brief general overview of like sex drive and like what's typically expected, like where are we at with that?
So usually in the beginning, middle of the follicular phase is when the libido starts to come back up after menstruation. And it probably hits its peak around ovulation or early luteal phase, and then it starts to kind of drop off.
Yeah.
And evolutionarily, if you think about that, that makes sense because the the point of sexual activity is technically to have a
Reproduce.
child. So yeah, so they want your body wants you to be most excitable during
Yeah.
the ovulation phase. Yeah,
Yeah, man,
yeah.
I think this is another thing that, and we had a previous episode like talking about cycle syncing in relationships, but another thing that I'm like, man, if people were just aware of, I think it would help so many relationships to
Oh
know, like,
yeah.
oh, it's not that I'm not attracted to my partner or I don't have a healthy sex drive. Like, this is actually normal because my body can't get pregnant anymore. So maybe I'm just like not as excitable like during this phase.
Exactly.
No, yeah.
Exactly.
Which is why conversations like this are so yeah, I'm so happy we're having them and that they're more normalized now because I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
and the hope is that, it's not just women listening to these types
yes.
of podcasts, because I think it would really help men in relationships to learn more about their significant other. Yeah.
No, my boyfriend and I always joke. He's like, I feel like it should be a requirement on dating apps that men have to know. He's like, man, if I knew this, like, because he's gotten into super into cycle syncing and he like tracks my cycle around me. But he's like, man, he's like, it would be so useful for a guy to know, like, maybe don't schedule a first date, like when she's in her luteal
Yeah.
phase, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I completely agree with you. And men listening, like, brownie points, like, women will love you forever if you learn about
Yeah.
their bodies. So, okay, we're going to get back to the conversation really quickly. But first, I want to take a brief moment to tell you about a tool that can really help you with understanding your body. If you've ever wished that you could truly understand your body, Lively can help. It's the most personalized women's health companion for your cycle, hormones, and every stage of womanhood, from your first period and pregnancy to menopause. Finally, understand your cycle phase and what your body needs. Sync your workouts and nutrition, plan for pregnancy, and make sense of your hormones with tools made by women health experts. Get daily tips for your energy, mood, and well being, plus a private space that your partner can use to better support you. All with privacy that you can trust. Trusted by millions of women worldwide. Try it free for 7 days on the App Store or Google Play. Search Lively, create your account, and start living in sync with your body. I use Lively. I love it. I've used it for multiple years now, and it is probably my favorite tool that I have. Okay, back to the episode. Okay, let's talk about lifestyle. Lifestyle in the ovulation phase. What are tips that you have for people? What should they be focusing on if they're trying to
So you are
optimize?
still, for the most part, in a higher energy place,
Yeah.
and this is another place where it's creative. A lot of women get really excited about like their home and their environment. So if that's something that's been on your plate, like the ovulation phase is a great time to do some organization and that kind of stuff.
Love that.
Yeah,
I love that you're saying that because I've literally been feeling that and I'm like, wow, like it's so interesting how you don't notice these patterns until you start tracking. Before you start
exactly.
tracking, you're like, no, like I don't shift that much. And I've had this conversation with people. I'm like, you might, you just don't know it. You
You
just don't
just
know.
don't realize it
Yeah,
because it's so fast. It's also in a month. It's
exactly.
so fast. So
Exactly. Okay, let's dive right into the luteal phase. I feel like the luteal phase can be so villainized on the internet sometimes. Why do energy and mood shift here? What's happening in our body?
So this is where estrogen is crashing now at this point after ovulation, and progesterone goes up during this phase in the beginning, and then it starts to crash down in the middle of it, basically. So you're having a lot of hormone fluctuations. The estrogen coming down definitely affects the mood. The progesterone also. So progesterone makes us more calm. So as it's coming up, you may feel a little bit more tired, but a little less anxious. And then as that's coming down, the anxiety and all that stuff sort of.
Ramps back up.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So what foods can help reduce the infamous PMS during this time and the bloating and the cravings and
Yeah, so here you want to think about complex carbs. You want your body is basically increasing the uterine lining at this point, because if you were pregnant, then it would be getting ready for the egg to be, sitting in the uterus and growing. And so during this phase, it's increasing the uterine lining. So complex carbs are a really good thing. Those things like sweet potatoes can really make a big difference here for us.
that's so good. And then Movement wise, what is the goal in this phase?
Yeah, so in this phase, you want to kind of slow it down a little bit. So, if during the follicular and ovulation phase you were lifting heavy weights, doing a lot of cardio, doing a lot of hit exercises, this is where you want to maybe do more Pilates, more yoga, kind of lighter. It doesn't have to be as light as the menstrual phase, but definitely lighter because your body is, like I said, making the uterine lining thicker at this point. So
Yeah.
all of the workouts that you're doing may not be as beneficial.
Yeah, no, again, so helpful. Like what I love about this episode, it's so practical. Like everything, I'm like,
Mhm.
yep, you can apply this, apply this, apply this. What about lifestyle during the luteal phase? Like
So
what should we be focused on? Like communication, relationships wise, like all of it.
yeah, so the luteal phase is this is where a lot of women struggle because as I said kind of in the beginning that the menstrual phase you're bleeding, you know that you're not feeling good, but in the luteal phase a lot of women don't know why they're feeling like crazy. You actually start to feel a
Nothing's
little
gonna
bit
work out in
crazy.
life. Like I'm a
Right. You
failure.
start to
Yeah.
feel like my skin doesn't look good, my hair doesn't look good, I
Oh
don't want to
yeah.
talk to anyone. It can be very jarring for you. And so to know that it's my luteal phase, that's why I feel this way, that can really be helpful in terms of communication with a partner or with other family members. At this point, I would say slow it down, a lot of rest, maybe a lot of journaling, some introspection. This is the place where you kind of want to think about, okay, after the menstrual phase, I'm going to be in my follicular phase and we're going to hit all the motivated stuff. But right now, maybe let's hold or maybe let's be slow about it.
No, it's so good. And I think having grace, like the way that I've tried to structure my life now is thinking about my cycle in sprints where I'm like during the follicular phase where I'm dominated by estrogen, I'm like stacking all like sales, new projects, like taking on new things. And then the second half, I'm just like, okay, now I'm gonna like finish like tie bows on everything I've done this month. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna let myself like chill. And then hit it again like the next month. And it's honestly like it's so helpful like for anyone listening, like if you have not tried cycle syncing yet, like it is so useful. Yeah.
I also think it's really empowering for women to try the cycle syncing because it actually gives you a reason as to why you're feeling the way that you're feeling and being kind of caught in this 24-hour societal pressure is not great for a lot of mental health and self-esteem. And so
1000%. Yeah.
yeah, so if you give yourself the grace to kind of do this stuff, then you may really notice a shift in your whole life.
Well, and I feel like it goes so much deeper of just like even learning to like not tie our worth to productivity or like not
Right.
tie our worth to like, I think you hit on so much there that I'm like, man, like this conversation, I think we all need it. Like, because it's so easy to get caught up in like a very like go, 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 always hustle, always be on. And it's like, there's so much value in slowing down and savoring life and savoring connection and savoring time with self.
Yeah.
So good. So bringing it all together, what do you think is the simplest way for women to start cycle syncing without getting overwhelmed?
So I think that you should look at it from kind of a three-pronged approach. Number one, food.
Yes.
Number two, physical activity. And number three, just like mood
Yeah.
type thing. So if you can kind of put those three categories in each of the phases, and then you can build from there. But that is the easiest way to sort of try to start cycle syncing.
I love it. And what's one myth about hormones, cycle syncing, PMS, or productivity that you'd love to debunk for people listening?
I think that I'm gonna say, my father always says, work smart, not work hard.
So good.
And so like this is like if you cycle sync, you are working smart because you're not pushing yourself during the times that it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
If you have to, you have to. But if you have a job or even, other things that you want to do that you can maneuver around your cycle, do it because that's a smarter way to work.
I love it. If you can optimize your life, why wouldn't you? Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you so much for making time to come on the Lively podcast. Before we wrap up, I have another question that I ask every guest that comes on.
Yeah.
As an expert in your field, what is one question that you just wished people asked you more often?
I think that women tend to just muddle through. I think I said that in the beginning, and I wish that more women would ask me why these things are happening because I can't explain it, and I feel like they're just thinking, oh, I'm just being a baby, or I should be doing better than this.
Power
And
through. Yeah.
yeah.
Man, and it's every conversation like this is like getting us one step closer to helping people feel less like something's wrong with them and more like they
Yeah.
can work with themselves. That is so, so good. Um, for everyone listening today, I just want to remind you that Lively gives you tips on what to eat, move, and do in every phase of your cycle. So if you're listening to this today and you're like, I don't know where to start, but I want to start, download the Lively app. I use it. It's so helpful in just giving you a basis. And we just came out with a new feature that lets you work with providers that allows you to instantly download a PDF of like all of your symptoms, like all of your cycles that you can email to your provider when you go into the office. So if you go in to see a functional medicine doctor, you can email that over to them so they can see what you've been tracking and work together to find solutions to your symptoms, your problems, etc. You guys listening, your body isn't unpredictable. It's cyclical. And once you learn the rhythm, everything starts to make more sense. So thank you so much for coming on today. It was such an honor. And for you guys listening as well, one last thing, but be sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And also, if our listeners want to find you and they are like, I would love to either book a call with you or learn more from you, where can they find you? Do you have a website, social media, anything like that?
Yes, so I do have an Instagram. It's The Functional Chick.
Love that. That's a great name.
Yeah, and maybe you can leave it in the comments or something like
100%.
that for them.
Yeah, we'll put it down in the comments below, and we will also tag you in all of the videos. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
That was great.